We are working to learn more about the legal implications of recreational marijuana becoming legal in Michigan, what you can now do and what you cannot.
Joining us live this morning is Kalamazoo County Sheriff Richard Fuller, and we thank you for being here with us this morning, Sheriff. And let's get right into this because there's so much to talk about.
Yeah.
First, to try to explain for folks, if you're at your house and you have a joint and you want to smoke, there's different rules. I mean, you can't just necessarily be out in your front lawn smoking. Correct? You have to follow a different rule than that, correct?
Yeah, you have to, it's not to be consumed in public. And so it's going to be difficult for law enforcement to track people down for smoking in their front yard when that's a civil infraction, $250 fine at the most.
But you are supposed to be in your house in private, according to the law. Is that inaccurate?
Yes.
Okay. But you can't just also walk down a public street either.
Correct. You're not allowed to consume this in public, and that's why, of course, you can't have it at restaurants, you can't have it in bars, you can't have it in parking lots. Definitely still can't have it at schools. This has not been made legal at schools. And I think a lot of people are going to bump into that like they have in other states.
Another layer of this is driving. You obviously can't be high behind the wheel. So how are you going to be able to detect that? How are you going to know if someone is high behind the wheel?
Well, there are a lot of different ways, and we have been training our people for a while about that. But ultimately, people have to understand the law says you can have none of this in your system while you're driving.
Oh.
And because just like when you talk about alcohol, 0.08, anything above that is an illegal amount in your system of alcohol. Well, there are no 0.08s for marijuana yet, and the law still says you can have none of this in your system.
But I believe that marijuana will stay in your system far longer than alcohol will. So what's that time frame there?
Well, so that's going to be dependent upon the potency of the marijuana. Marijuana today is not like it was, back 30 years ago. THC levels 30 years ago were about 4%. Today, what they're finding are the minimums in, say, Colorado is 14. But they're also finding THC levels up to 90%.
Now, I'll say with that too, now that recreational marijuana is going to be legal, are you nervous that people are going to start experimenting with this more and creating that higher level of THC?
Well, definitely they do.
Yeah.
We've seen this in all the other states, and they have very high levels in other states. We will here in Michigan ultimately. I know Laura is working hard to try to regulate some of these things, but anytime advocates put together a bill in front of people that think they know what they're voting for, and they vote for it, the state has to catch up. And that's exactly what's happening here.
And Sheriff, we've talked about some of the immediate implications, but there was another immediate implication that from a law enforcement perspective, what are you talking about the drug dealers sort of doing right now because this law is becoming legal right now?
Well, the drug dealers today are vying for your business. They recognize that there is no legal place for you to go purchase marijuana today, but you can consume it today. So they recognize that they are the only market, and they are vying for your business and even arguing with each other about your business.
Do you have any concerns about where that leads to? I mean, violence, any kind of problems with that market?
We try not to scare people, but we want to make sure they're informed. And just in the last month, we've seen a couple different, what we thought were going to be drug ripoffs. Now, of course, the participants won't tell you that's exactly what was going on, but in law enforcement, we know exactly what was going on.
Do you think this is going to, now that this recreational marijuana is legal, going to tie up even more of your resources?
It's guaranteed. When we looked out in Colorado back in September, we asked some of those very same questions, and the law enforcement community said yes. The information was always that this is going to take law enforcement to another place where they no longer had to worry about these things, and it has the direct opposite effect.
Okay, I think we're going to leave it there for now. Kalamazoo County Sheriff Richard Fuller talking to us about the brand new legalization of recreational marijuana in Michigan starting today. Thanks for being here this morning.
My pleasure.
Of course, we also have a lot of great information on our website, wwmt.com. If you hover over that news tab, go to the second row and all the way at the bottom, you'll find Michigan Marijuana. That's where we have a lot of questions and answers, a really good resource there for you.
All right, we're going to send things now over to meteorologist Jeff Porter with his